We're going to be looking at generating equivalent fractions using area models, equations, and number lines. So we're going to look at the fraction 1/2. And I am going to draw several types of models for it. Now, when drawing these models, you want to draw them as close to the same size as possible and part them as equal as possible. So here I have an area model, and I'm going to shade 1/2 of it blue. So 1/2 of this model is blue. Now I'm going to do a line model, a number line. And 1/2 is in between 0 and 1 whole. And right in the middle is 1/2. And there it is an example of 1/2. So we're going to look at finding some equivalent fractions for 1/2. I'm going to draw a second model. I'm going to make it as close to the same size as my first. And I'm going to part it in half. Then I'm going to make another number line and part it exactly like I did the first one. Okay. So let's look at the fraction 1/2. I'm going to shade in 1/2 of this one, color in 1/2 of this one. Now, a lot of us learn to find an equivalent fraction. Let's multiply the denominator. For example, let's multiply this denominator by 2. And if the denominator gets multiplied by 2, the numerator must be multiplied by 2. And it generates an equivalent fraction of 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So here we see that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2, but let's see why that works. When I multiply 1/2 by 2, what I'm doing is I'm taking my 2 halves of the fraction and I'm halving them. And I now created 4 whole parts. Same happens with the number line. When multiplying by 2, each part gets halved. And now I have 2/4 of the whole thing shaded blue, 2/4 of the whole shaded blue. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4. Let's look at a few more examples. Let's look at the fraction 1/3. I have parted my area model into 3 pieces and my number line into 3 parts. I'm going to label my number line 1/3 and 2/3, and we know our whole is also could be written as 3/3. So I'm going to shade in 1/3 of this area model blue, and then 1/3 of this number line blue. Now I'm looking for an equivalent to 1/3. I'm going to redraw my 1/3 model and my number line. Now I know I cannot get this perfect, but I'm gonna make it as close as possible. I'm gonna shade in 1/3. 1/3 of this. Now, let's look at the fraction 1/3. And let's form an equation to represent the equivalence. We know if we multiply the denominator and the numerator by the same amount, we'll get an equivalent fraction. So in this case, let's half it again. We're going to multiply 1/3 times 2. So we know 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So let's see why this works. When I half my thirds, I'm going to draw a line down the middle right here horizontally. I have now created 6 parts. And now 2 of those, the total of 6 is blue. I'm going to do the same here on my number line. I'm going to half my thirds. And now I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So the fraction has become 2/6. Let's look at one more. Let's look at the fraction 3/4. I'm going to part this one into 4, and my number line into 4 parts as well. So I have a 0, 1/4, 2/4, which is also equal to 1/2, 3/4, and, well, 4/4, which would equal 1 whole. Now in this case, I have 3 parts of the whole that is going to be shaded blue. Just like on my number line, I have 1, 2, 3 parts of the whole. Now let's generate an equivalent fraction. I'm going to draw another model. Be very careful to try to get it as close to the first model as possible. Let's part it into fourths. Draw a number line and part it into fourths. So we have 0, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, or 1/2. Okay. So we've got 3/4. We're going to generate an equivalent fraction for that. And instead of halving each part, let me first shade in. So instead of halving each part, we are going to third each part. So when we third the parts, we multiply the denominator by 3 and the numerator by 3. And we generate a new fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. So in this case, what we have to do is now cut each part into 3 pieces. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 to make the whole part, and 9 of the entire model is blue. So 9/12 of this model is blue. Let's see how it works on the number line. So in this case, we have got to be very careful to part each 1/4 piece into 3 parts. So here we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parts now. I'm going to label them. It might be kind of small. 1/12, 2/12, 3/12, 4/12, 5/12, 6/12. 6/12, 2/4 are all equal to 1/2. 7/12, 8/12, 9/12, 10/12, 11/12, and 12/12. Using this number line, we can see 1/4 is also equal to 3/12. We saw that 6/12, 2/4, and 1/2 are all 3 equal, and 9/12 and 3/4 are equal. Thank you, and I hope this helps.